Hello everyone, this is Tracy, the Truck and Trucker. Today I want to go over how I set up my Xbox 360 controller for play in Euro Truck Simulator 2. And if you take a look at the image on the screen, we'll start with the left joystick. I have this set up for steering only. The up and down part of it I don't have set for anything, so just left and right. Next, let's take a look at the hat switches. The hat switch up is for starting and stopping the engine. The hat switch right is for turning on my headlights. The hat switch down I have set to turn high beams on. And finally, the hat switch left is for my parking brake. The right joystick is for my in-cab view. I use it to turn my head left, right, up, and down. The X, Y, B buttons I use for my turn indicators. X, of course, would be left, Y is the hazards, and B is to turn right. A button I use to activate my engine brake, which I refer to in-game on my videos as a Jake brake. The start button I use to turn on my windshield wipers. The back button I use to attach and detach my trailer. Now let's take a look at the view that shows the triggers, the front view. The right trigger I set as my throttle, accelerator, gas pedal, however you want to call it. And the left trigger is set for my brakes. The right button is for upshifting, and the left button is used for downshifting. So that covers the actual controller. Next, I'm going to go into my game and show how to adjust your controller settings in the game. Okay, so here we are in my game, and if you've played the game, you know what this is. This is the main menu after you've set up your profile. We're going to hop into the options. What I'm going to do is cover the gameplay, keyboard, and control sections, and I'm going to try to specifically stick with what actually deals with the Xbox 360 controller. I am not going to go over the other settings that I have to make the game more playable for me. If you want me to do that, let me know and I can make another video for it. But right now I want to stick with the controllers just to stay on topic. Transmission type is sequential. Of course, that's for the right button and the left button that I showed you to upshift and to downshift. Steering auto center. What this does is when you let go of the steering joystick, the tires automatically start centering back to straight instead of turning left or right. If you've ever driven a car, you know cars have a tendency to do this, especially when they're in motion. So it's a natural thing for people when they're driving to want to resist that or to use that in order to help them in their steering. I used that a lot while I was driving a truck, so make sure you've got this selected. The braking intensity I have about halfway. The more you have this slider up, the faster you're going to stop. The less you have it, the longer it's going to take you to stop. This is the motor brake, the Jake brake, the compression brake. This is what I use on the A button on the controller. I do not have it set for automatic, because if you do, when you step on the brake, that's when it's going to kick in. And the idea behind the motor brake is to not have to use the brakes. In real life, if you use the brakes too much, you heat them up, they can catch on fire, and you've got your truck and your load is destroyed. This is the automatic engine start and electricity start. This kind of has to do with my controller. I'm going to go ahead and click it off. What that means is, to start my truck, I have to push my start button, which is the up direction on the hat switch. I have to push it twice. So the first is you turn the key in the truck, and the dashboard lights up, the electronics kick in, the computer turns on. Then you turn the ignition key over to start it and let go of it as soon as the engine started. That's for people who've never driven before. For those of us who drive, yeah, okay, we get that. But so that's just an extra simulation. I do have the air brakes simulated because what's the point of having an airbag truck if you're not going to simulate the way the air brakes or work? I cover that a lot in my fourth video in the Euro Truck Simulator 2, A Trucker's Perspective. So if you want to learn more about air brakes and how they work compared to car brakes, take a look at that video. So there's the gameplay. We're going to go right into the keyboard. A lot of this stuff is set up right at the beginning of your game. After you go into the input wizard, you start a new profile. You have your input wizard where you'll change from the keyboard controls to the Xbox 360 control. That's where you do left, right, up, down, and braking and shifting. Then you come back into here and go to this keyboard, and this is where you'll set up which buttons you want for shift up, shift down. Don't worry about this right here, the throttle, brake, right, brake, steering, right and left, because this is if you're using the keyboard. Just ignore that if you're using the Xbox 360 controller, because it doesn't have anything to do with it. The shift up, of course, is the right button. Shift down is the left button. This is what it looks like in the game. Joy button 5, joy button 4. There's the start and stop, hat switch up, parking brake, hat switch left. The motor brake, compression brakes, jake brake, that's joy button 0 on the controller. That is the A button. Left turn is the X button. Right turn is the B button. Hazards is the Y button. The lights, my hat switch to the right. High beams, hat switch down. The wipers, joy button 7, that would be the start button. And we go on all the way down to here to the trailer detach and attach. That's joy button 6, that would be the back button. So there's the keyboard. Now the controllers, or controls. This is where you adjust the sensitivity. You want to make sure when you turn on the game that prior to starting the game you turn on your Xbox 360 controller. If not, your game will not recognize that it's ready to go, and it will give you the keyboard only default, and you'll have to exit your game, start your controller, then restart the game. So make sure you have that turned on. Controller subtype, you have to have the joystick, because we don't have a steering wheel on our gamepads. So it's gamepad, joystick. This is again another place for you to input the sequential shifting. Here, vitally important, steering sensitivity. I have had so many people ask on my YouTube threads as well as on Steam, how do you adjust the steering sensitivity? Well, here it is. Here's why I have mine set 3/4 of the way up. If it was any higher, and I've had it higher, your truck will turn in a heartbeat and you'll have no control. Too little, as you already have probably figured out, it doesn't turn fast enough. I do not know what steering non-linearity means. It works for me here at the all the way off part of this slider, so I'm going to leave it there. Force feedback I have turned on. The game, for the people who created ETS2 for some reason didn't include a program for it to recognize the force feedback or the rumble, the vibration on the Xbox 360 controller. So you have to actually go and find a program to make the game recognize that there is the vibration on that. I found the program on Steam's forum, and I believe the title of that was Xbox 360 force feedback, something like that. If you go in and do a thread search or a forum search on Steam, you'll find it. I can't even remember where I found it. It was a while ago, and so if you want the vibrations, go check that out. Here's the steering axis. The Joy X, that means your left joystick. You want to have a dead zone, basically because, as we know with 360 controllers, when you push too hard on the buttons, the joysticks click, and that's an extra button to use. Now, if you accidentally make that left joystick click, sometimes it'll stick, and you'll have to pull it out to get it to unstick. Well, when it does stick, it'll automatically start turning right or left, right? You understand what I'm saying? So I have the dead zone in there, just a little bit of a dead zone to prevent that from happening. So, and the axis mode is centered, Acceleration is your right trigger. No dead zone for me, because when I step on the throttle I want to go. The mode is very important that you select inverted and centered. If you have anything else, it'll mess it up. The brake axis, that's the left trigger. Again, no dead zone. Axis mode is centered. Here's the look up, look down, left and right. They're both centered. I didn't mess with the dead zone because it's perfectly fine as far as it goes. And down here is the H shifter setup, and I don't have one, so we won't even cover it. So there it is. There's my setup for my Xbox 360 controller. It works well for me. I keep twiddling with the steering sensitivity and stuff like that just to try to get it a little better. I'm fairly happy with where it is right now. If you have any questions, just let me know. Leave a comment below. And as always, subscribe to my channel so you know when the new videos are coming out. I'm starting Twitch live streams, so I'm pretty excited about that. Like this video and do share this. This is answering, I think, a very specific question that a lot of people have about the Xbox 360 controller and how to set it up in this game. So thanks for watching. You guys have yourself a wonderful day, and drive safe, and we'll see you out there on the road.